Hey, welcome to this edition of Snowmobiler Television. On this week's show, I've got Polaris's killer new 650 Matrix with me here in the studio for After Burn. And then I have a look at Yamaha's re-entry into the mountain segment with their 2021 Mountain Max 800cc two-stroke snowmobile. Then I've got a story about some of the details you need to be thinking about when ordering a pickup truck. And I check out a super secret collection of vintage ice oval race sleds. Those things are awesome and I can't wait to see them. So let's get the show going.
STV is brought to you by Yamaha, revs your heart. Polaris, think outside. Ford F-Series, Canada's best-selling line of pickup trucks for 55 years. Tough, smart, capable.
'21 brings in a major change in the tectonic plates at Yamaha. And that's because for '21, they have a new performance two-stroke snowmobile in the lineup. Now granted, it is a single model only in the mountain class, but it is a series contender in the powder. Now before we dive into this model and what it means, I want to address one thing right up front, and that it is a blue Arctic Cat. Now Yamaha has made a few detail changes, but we can't deny this fact or spin the story into something that it's not. Now, some people are not too happy about this fact and are definitely making their opinions known, and that's fine, but I think they're missing the bigger picture here. So to start this story, I want to look back at some of Yamaha's past performance mountain sleds. Power was never a question when it came to past models. These turbocharged machines would knock at the door of 200 horsepower while at elevation. Now these kinds of numbers meant the Sidewinders could have more than 50 horsepower over the competition while in the Alpine. In addition, the engineering partnership with Arctic Cat meant this power was bolted into basically the same chassis the Cat mountain sleds were made out of. Now this does seem like a perfect recipe, but that power did come with a significant weight penalty. In addition, there was a trend away from straight-up high marking to more technical terrain riding, where balanced weight and power are the most important factors. Mountain sleds have become nimble scalpels in order to cut the slopes between the trees, not simple powerhouses just built to climb. This trend is definitely not going away, and Yamaha was left literally stuck in the past with the old Sidewinders, so much so that they didn't even have a 2020 mountain sled. Instead, Yamaha was focused on flushing out the remaining 2019 MTX models. But this opened up a door at Yamaha I never thought they would open again. So after a year off, they've reintroduced the Mountain Max name and reintroduced a performance two-stroke back into the lineup. Now to help tell the story of this new machine, I've enlisted Tyler Swarmy, our mountain guy here at OSM and STV, to walk us through how the new Max works in the steep and deep.
Man, it's incredible. Compared to, previous year four-strokes, Yamaha, they tried for a long time and they really did a good job refining that sled, and they made it, able to somewhat compete in the mountains.
Yeah.
But everyone else is running two-strokes. They're just so light and nimble.
They had a super big weight penalty. They had power, but they paid for it with weight. Yeah. It's a real mountain sled now. Yeah, it is for sure.
Yamaha put their own touches on it. Not everything is the same as a Cat, so it is unique in that aspect. I love the skis on this thing. The suspension feels great. You can ride it through some tight stuff.
And one thing that I liked about it, even though I'm not the deep powder guy, again, that's why you're here, but it does have the mono beam rear suspension.
It's pretty squirrely at first, in a good way though. So pretty incredible. I'm used to the standard dual rail rear suspensions, and so every year I get a little bit of time on these. But it's pretty amazing. On side hills, it just initiates, gets onto its side really fast. And it's not as squirrely as I used to think it was. Maybe if you're a first-time rider on this, you'll realize that it tips over very easily. But the fulcrum point on that rear rail is there's a wide range of comfortable side hilling on there. So it's pretty neat. I like it. I'm a believer in it for sure.
Legitimately though, this is a Yamaha mountain sled now.
Yep. Yeah, they've got something to compete with all the other two-strokes, and we get, you know, Yamaha gets back all their Mountain Max fans and everything.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people went away from the Yamahas just because the four-strokes were a little too heavy for some tight technical riding.
Yeah.
But this puts them right back in the game. Anyone who gets one, they're going to be super excited to ride it. So.
So with a new legitimate contender in the two-stroke class, what does this mean for Yamaha and Yamaha faithful? Well, strategically, this is a sled that will keep Yamaha customers and Yamaha dealerships and away from their competition, where these folks could be lured away from the Yamaha brand. Keeping it all in the family is important when building and keeping a customer base, and for dealerships that cater to the mountain rider, they can now sell relevant Yamaha product in every season. In addition, the Yamaha Mountain Max may lead to other performance two-strokes in the Yamaha lineup. The door is open right now. I remember back when the RX-1 came to the market as the first performance four-stroke snowmobile, and Yamaha committed to being a four-stroke only snowmobile manufacturer, which they did succeed in for a lot of years. Times and technology has been changing though, and maybe the Mountain Max is an indicator that Yamaha is changing with them this time. As a fan of blue, I'm looking forward to the future.
I'll be coming up hot for a minute.
Coming up later in the show, Polaris' new 650 is being lit up for Afterburn in the studio.
STV is brought to you by Motovan, for the love of power sports.
Every once in a while there comes along a sled that really perks up my ears. And for model year 2021, it wasn't a snowmobile that did that. Instead, it was the new 650 Patriot engine by Polaris. And for this guy, it didn't matter what sled that mill came in, I wanted to experience it. Back in the day, it was a Polaris Indy 650 that hooked me into snowmobiling, and when I heard Polaris was bringing back this displacement, I was excited to see a sled with the numbers 6, 5, and 0 on the side of it again. That old 650 was a pretty simple engine, but it wasn't too bad power-wise and had that iconic triple sound to it. Now this machine is a twin, so it has lost a little bit of that romance from that bygone era, but really one pull of the throttle on this machine and you figure out pretty quickly the only way that old Fuji mill would keep up with this sled is if it was shot out of a cannon. The real story on this machine is the engine, and I'll circle back on that later. Right now, I should take a minute and talk about the fact that this mill is nestled inside the new for 2021 Polaris Matrix chassis. Now, I've already done an afterburn on an 850 Matrix VR1, but the good stuff bears repeating. Polaris optimized this new chassis in every way possible. No detail was left behind. The most noticeable change is the improved ergonomics in the cockpit. This new chassis design narrows up the tank area almost 5 inches, as well as pulling your knees in just about 3 inches as well. This means there's a bunch more room in the Matrix chassis to move around on, and by simply sliding your body forward, clicking into the sweet spot, your upper body can lean into the corner to absolutely rail around it. The new bodywork is also sculpted to manage cold air around the rider, and with a reasonable sized windshield, this is definitely noticeable from the seat. There is no question this machine is warmer than the previous generation. I do have to admit though, it does take a little time to warm up to the softer curves of the new look body, but they are definitely growing on me. The VR1 edition also gets you a huge touchscreen dash that includes Polaris's ride command function, a ton of connectivity to other riders and your phone, but the option here on the launch edition is a more traditional LCD display. Now, it still has all the information you need as a rider, just none of the razzle-dazzle. 58, 59, 60. Okay, now back to the engine. The obvious displacement difference between the old Liberty 600 and the new 650 Patriot is, well, 50 cc's, which isn't much and adds up to less than a couple of shots of your favorite Spirit, but that's enough to create a whole new ride experience. The new engine pulls hard and will easily keep up to its big brother, the 850, into the mid speeds. Now it will fall off a little as you get to terminal velocity, but it'll stay close enough to the 850's snow flap to keep that rider thinking. The new engine is also butter smooth for a twin and was designed with fuel economy in mind as well. Polaris comments that at trail speeds, there's up to a 40% improvement over the old Liberty. That's not insignificant, and when combined with the power output, the new 650 easily outclasses the old 600. And speaking of classes, is this a 600 class sled? I don't know. I've been trying to figure that out since I first rode it, and honestly, I still don't know. I mean, does a 600 class sled start at 600 cc's and go to 700 cc's? If so, then I guess this is a 600 class snowmobile, but my gut feeling is telling me that this is going to be a whole new class, but I'm going to let the industry and riders decide. I also think this new era 650 will have the other manufacturers thinking about making bore and stroke changes to their existing 600s. Polaris simply caught the other manufacturers flat-footed with the 650. Even though there are other potent 600s on the market that will give the 650 a good run, you can't deny that the Patriot is just a bigger engine. And bigger is always better, so even if the race across the lake is a close one, Polaris marketing-wise dominates all because riders of this sled can say they're on a 650, not a 600, a 650 650. This sled is sure to ignite a trend in the industry because it's already ignited a trend on the snow. If you're one of the lucky ones out riding one of these machines, how many times have you been asked what it's like to ride? Or on the other side of the coin, if you've seen one of these sleds on the trails, how many times have you asked its rider what it's like to ride? Any way you look at it, this new engine is sure to shake things up. Now, I still think there's going to be a position for the 600 class snowmobile, maybe in the touring segment, but for the performance category, you can't deny no matter what brand you ride, 650 sure sounds a lot better than 600. Coming up after the break, I'm talking towing package details when ordering a pickup truck, so don't go away.
This portion of STV is brought to you by Woody's. We put the traction in action.
On a recent episode of STV, I set up our Ford Ranger with a hitch, wiring harness, and brake controller. Now we had to install all that stuff because it was purchased right off the showroom floor. Now to avoid having to do these mods after the fact, we're going to catch up with Russ at Canada Ford to give us some advice on ordering tow packages right from the factory. All manufacturers have different packages that allow customers to refine their trucks to the exact spec they need. When ordering a new truck, the options are almost endless and it's easy to get lost in engines, gears, chassis layouts, and convenience groups, so it's super easy to miss something, especially when choosing towing packages. Just because you've checked one of the boxes doesn't mean your expensive new truck will be ready to tow. Often, the equipment you need may be hidden in multiple layers of options.
So one important thing, especially in the trucks, is every truck comes with what's called a tow haul mode, but not every truck comes with a tow package. So what a tow package will insist of is a trailer hitch, 4-pin or 7-pin wiring. Some of them actually have both. Transmission coolers, and then when you go up to the half tons and other trucks, they actually have some other things that help with the backing up of a trailer as well.
Yeah, the backup trailer assist package, but sometimes I think customers have to be careful, and it goes across the board when it comes to buying a light truck. You might check the box for a tow package, which might get you a hitch, but maybe it doesn't get you the brake controller.
Correct. So a trailer brake controller in the Ranger doesn't come from factory. In the F-150, it only comes with the max trailer tow package or is a standalone option. In F250s and above, trailer brake controllers are standard.
So those are the type of details that somebody has to pay attention to when again they're ordering a truck and they have the opportunity to check off those boxes.
Yep.
Now, for us with the Ranger, yeah, it didn't come with the trailer brake controller from Ford, maybe because that was a world vehicle type of thing and
Yep.
that was originally built for markets outside of North America. But for things like the F-150, say if somebody buys a used one or maybe buys one off a lot that doesn't have all those little, you know, proper accessories to tow a trailer that's fairly substantial, can that stuff be retrofitted? Obviously we did it with the Ranger.
Yeah, so a lot of these parts are available after the fact, especially the trailer tow package and the wiring. You can get different types of wiring. A lot of manufacturers will just do the 4-pin or just do the 7-pin because there's a lot of different attachments you can add to get the other pins attached to it as well.
Yeah, and like I said, what I wanted to reinforce, and it's not just it's a light truck thing in general, is that when somebody's coming in to look for a vehicle, whether it's new, used, off the lot, or something that they're ordering, there's little details if you plan on trailering with your vehicle that do have an effect. And even you can drill down as far as saying some tow packages come with better transmission coolers and things like that. So it is important to pay attention to those details.
Absolutely, it's one of the most important things, especially if you're pulling your toys around.
STV's Pro Tip of the Day is brought to you by Yamaha.
Yamaha's tip of the day is you should always take the time to break in a new belt, which is pretty simple. Just take it easy on it for 20-25 kilometers or so. Basically, you're looking for a heat cycle. Now, Yamaha's pro tip of the day is take the time to break in your spare belt as well. That way, when this one blows, you can mount up your spare and start ripping on it right away. Coming up after the break, I'm heading off to a super secret snowmobile collection. Stick around because you're not going to want to miss this.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Best Western Hotels and Resorts.
Every once in a while, you hear about a snowmobile collection that you just have to check out. So we've come to St. Ange Recreation to check out just one of those collections. Now, we've already seen a glimpse of what Steve has when he sold the Bobby Donahue sled back to him, but I'm told that sled was just the tip of the iceberg. So Steve, I'm looking around, we're standing in the middle of your collection here. This is awesome. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen so many vintage old ice racers in one spot. How did this start?
Well, I started off restoring some old moto skis because that was my first sled. And then it started to flip over to some skidoos because, as you know, we're a skidoo dealer. And then the fixation of race sleds come in and it kind of got out of control.
No kidding.
And I kept getting calls on them and I kept saying yes, 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 yes. And then here we are today looking at them.
Well, it's an absolute privilege to look at this stuff. Now, this isn't, obviously, we're not in a museum here or anything like this. This is just a private collection for you, right?
It is.
Talk to me about that. I mean, how many sleds do you think you have right now? Or do you even know?
I don't keep track. If I did, I probably wouldn't like that. But there's a lot of them. Unfortunately, you know, growing up, I did get into sledding a lot. And then so if I had a Kawasaki Invader, I'd buy an Invader. If I had a, you know, a 93 Mach 1, I bought that. 92 Mach 1, I bought that. So I have all these normal production sleds that I had that I just started, you know, collecting. And as much as I love them, they're probably not the most collectible things in the world. But there is also a lot of rare stuff, like the Millennium stuff's getting hard to find. The Mike Kuhl Mach Z, the Tony Heikkinen MXZ. There's stuff that isn't quite a collector's vintage yet, but I think as we go down the road,
get there,
you're going to see that come up.
Yeah, for sure. But I also wanted to ask you the question of all these things, and this might be a hard question. Which one is your favorite sled in this group?
That one is a piece of art in my eyes. Some people may not agree with me, but to me, that isn't a sled, that's a piece of art. I love that sled.
It is beautiful. That's the one that caught my eye when we came into the shop.
You know, this one is obvious pedigree.
Yeah, so talk to me about the number 8, the Hayes sled.
BRP loved that sled. It was Bombardier back then. Loved that sled, loved the driver, used it in all their advertising. As you know, the number 11 Bobby Donahue sled was right beside that, which was their partners at the time. I'm keeping that one. the Bobby Donahue sled, as you know, as a previous show, went to a great home.
Yeah, we covered that when you
Yep.
had Bobby up here, and
It was a tough go, but you know what? I felt it was the right thing, and
it went to a good home.
it wouldn't have went anywhere unless it went home.
Yeah, I mean, to preserve this stuff, I mean, a lot of the stuff in here is one of one.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
amazing, amazing. And again, this definitely goes back to your personality because you own a Skidoo dealership, and I can see at the dealership that you've got some nice vintage models displayed there. And I think even you said one of your very first snowmobiles that you've ever rode is there, a restored model of it. Is it snowmobiles only, or are you also, you know, have another barn over there with a bunch of like Corvettes in it or something like that? Or are you just, you're collecting snowmobiles, that's your bag?
Yes. You know what? Thank goodness, because storing them takes a lot of room. As you'll see in the other area, it just takes a ton of room, a ton of effort. And thank God I don't do a bad job on collecting Corvettes or something, because they'd probably rot faster. So this is my only collection, and as much as I love it, I just don't know if I could handle any more. It's hard enough just to take care of. There's a lot to take care of.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure seeing this stuff because this is stuff you don't see every day. Actually, I don't think you see this ever anywhere. So I appreciate you letting us come in and take a look at it because it is extremely special to be able to see it. Hey, thanks for hanging with us this week on STV. Now, if you're missing your weekly dose of snowmobiler television or just jonesing for more, why don't you check out our YouTube channel? And if you like what you see, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Anyways, till next time, may your snow always be squeaky. Unless you're a powder guy, and then I guess you need it to be fluffy? Fluffy.
STV is brought to you by CKX, wear your passion. Schaefer's, specialized lubricants since 1839. Best Western Hotels and Resorts, ready to get away?